Hi friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy, and I was messing around here and wanted to revisit the Nature's Whispers Oracle cards. So I use these for my Oracle rambles on Saturday, and this past Saturday, when I was looking at them, pulled a card from them, and I was thinking that I just got this jolt, kind of, that I really needed to find a different way of using them, or an additional way of using them. Adjust this a little bit. Okay. And so I took them. Actually, I took them to bed. It's the lovely thing about being single is you can take books to bed and decks to bed and notebooks to bed, all kinds of things. So I took the cards to bed and I sorted them. I can't remember if I sorted them by season, and then did I sort them by, yeah, I sorted them by just season? No, environment. So I have this thing that I left in the box here. So I sorted them by environment: field and forest, air or overview, where the figure in the card is going over the environment, ocean, animals, humanity, butterflies, garden, earth. And then I counted the number of girls, women and men together, things that I can only really think of as fairies. They're two different. Some of the fairies are really just men or women or girls with wings. Some of them are just, they're fae. They're very fae. And then a baby. And then there are two cards that actually contain embryos. So I looked at all of those and I decided that it wasn't giving me any clues as to how I want to use the deck. And I still haven't really resolved this issue, but I did something else. All right. So as I was looking through them, I decided suddenly, it's intuitive stuff, to sort them according to age group. So it's almost like I was getting to know these figures as I did all of this sorting. And so what I realized is that that it does have an interesting range. Now, the people in this deck, the women, are so beautiful. Their features, for the most part, are so smooth and refined, that at first I was thinking that really there is, there's girls and there's women. But when I looked closer, I thought, no, I can even with their extreme loveliness, I can discern children, teens, 20s, 30s, and above 30. It is one of those kind of unfortunate decks that doesn't go any further, really. I don't know that there might be one that you could argue is maybe a well-preserved 40 or something like that, but it really doesn't go beyond that. There's nobody representing my age group, the 50s, or above, certainly. And of course, we all know that is a flaw in a lot of decks, so I'm not going to condemn it for that. That it is what it is. And it's interesting to me that there is that bias in decks in general, because when I look, now this might not be true for other readers, but when I look, for example, on my YouTube, and look at it has statistics on a statistical breakdown of the age groups that are watching me. And they are people who are, particularly women, who are 35 and over. 35 and over. So that's a lot of people, and a lot of the people who are in the tarot community are older. And so it's very, I mean, there is a range, but a lot of them are older. And so it's interesting to me that there aren't more decks depicting older women. Maybe someday. But anyway, for now we get to enjoy these. And so I thought before I get to shuffling this deck again, I would run you through the deck as I have it, from younger to older. And certainly there will be disagreements. People might look at one and say, oh no, that belongs in that other age group. Okay, that's fine. There's nothing hard and fast about what I have done. It was just for my own kind of understanding of the deck. And what I kind of came to think about this deck is that it might be a divine feminine deck. So that was an interesting, that it might be a good deck for contemplating the divine feminine and the different phases within the divine feminine in terms of, youth, being a juvenile child, youth, and going on up. And you kind of see that with the relationship and the wistfulness of the women. So it's really, it really ended up being interesting. So I really like looking at it that way. Now, I don't know that will change. I was looking at it in terms of a way to use it. I wanted to find a particular way to use it for particular kinds of reading. And I sure don't, I don't generally do divine feminine readings particularly. So, what my new understanding or way of thinking about the deck in terms of an age, a feminine lifestyle, life cycle age range, may just affect my interpretation of different cards that come up, like for my oracle rambles. So here we go. So I'm guessing that this is the youngest one. No, these are my little fairies. So these are the fairies. So okay, and there's the baby. Yeah. So these are 3 cards that are not part of the cycle. So I consider this a fairy. It looks like a girl, but it's not quite, so I consider this a fairy. I consider these little fairy creatures, even though there is sort of I don't know if that's an older sister and sibling kind of a card, I don't know. But to me these were very fairy. And then there's one that is just kind of cosmic. It's a wonderful cosmic card. I love it. But it's just very cosmic. So those are outside of what this age range. So, but that's only 3 cards that are outside of it. Okay, so here we go. So we have this. We have the infant. And I'm not going to comment on each. They're kind of obvious. Yep. So when I look at these again, I think, well, I might reverse those 2 if I would be thinking about them. But it was interesting also as I was flipping through it. It's interesting how kind of the tween, things I would consider sort of tween, were very sort of oceany. But anyway, here we go. We're continuing to go on into the teens and young adults. Yeah, she's pretty teeny. One of the interesting things I discovered as I was doing this is as I had grouped them, I ended up with 13 in the children category, and then 9 in the teens, 9 in the 20s, and 10 in the 30s. So it was interesting to me that it actually ended up being that even, those age groups. I think now we're into the, well, I don't know if we're into the 20s yet. Anyway, this certainly is. So we're increasing in maturity here. And it was interesting to me also that these ones that to me look like they're in their 20s are very dreamy, you know? They're still kind of in a formative you know, to me that kind of becomes an experimenting with identity kind of a card. Now we might be getting into the what I consider the 30s. And she's in there. See, she's got her head on his shoulder. And so I see these cards end up, like in the 30s, end up being more kind of nurturing sorts of cards. And there are four ladies there representing the seasons all in that tree. But they're all kind of, you know, they don't look markedly different in terms of age. Okay, so now I think, are we getting maybe, well, into 40 yet? No, not quite yet. These are the last four cards. Yeah. So kind of the last, well, this is another fairy, for goodness sake. This is the other fairy. I'm not sure why maybe I was holding her out. She ended up on the, so I think these were the women that I was thinking were maybe getting to be a little beyond, again, still incredibly lovely, but beyond the age of 30, getting more actually into the, out of the 30s, kind of, maybe 40. You know, it would have to be kind of a movie star level of preservation. And she's in there. You can see she's in there. And then there's actually a hand reaching out there. So, but again, she strikes me as looking more mature. And she also strikes me as looking more mature. So there you have it. There's another take, another look at the Nature's Whispers. And there is one card that I do not use in this deck because I can't stand how anorexic this child looks. And yes, it's a fairy, but that just looks so, the arms and the shoulders where the wings, that just looks so anorexic to me. I just Can't do it, sorry. So that card I don't use. But, again, so it's just really interesting, and I almost don't want to use it until I've had time to really just look at that whole sequence. I may have said at the time that I did the Oracle Ramble and was like, I think I need to really look at this deck. I think I need to maybe use it differently. That I think I may even have said then I would really love to take it to the coffee shop in town, and they have a big table, kind of like mine, but even though it looks nice and open here, I've got all kinds of things setting out here and there. And take it to their big table and set it all out and take a look at it. And see what kind of progression I see with them all sitting out. You know, I was seeing some of it even as I flipped through and stuff. But I'd really like to sit with them a little bit and look at them. Anyway, just wanted to share those thoughts, insights into that deck, and kind of where I feel like I might be headed with it. Alright, take care. Bye-bye.